Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes. With the torch of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Again, thank you so much for hosting Igor and your good wife. She's in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, she'll be there probably the whole time. All right, and it's been a year or so since we came to this backyard, and everything's growing real nicely, like the apples. And since I came last year, even a trampoline sort of grew up out of the ground. Wasn't here last year. Yeah, so good. So we want to talk today about gossip. So let's start off with some very nice quotes about gossip. Okay. I hope my English is okay and you can understand, okay? So here's some fairly well-known quotes about the topic of gossip, which is a practice, an activity that has been around since people were born. It has not died off. It's always been there. I'm sure it goes on in the moon and every community you could imagine. Good, so here I'll start with the first quote. Fake people gossip about others. Real people mind their business. Okay? It's funny how the people that know the least about you always have the most to say. Surround yourself with people who talk about visions and ideas, not about other people. Right? If gossip were food, many people would be overweight.
That's so true, yeah.
Always remember, the one who gossips with you will gossip about you. Gossip is a worse plague than COVID. And that's a quote from Pope Francis. And it's true. Okay? How you can stop gossip, I don't know. Masks won't do it. Social distancing won't do it. A healthy mind does not speak ill of others. If you want to have a strong mind, a productive mind, then you won't talk about other people. People are quick to believe the bad things they hear about good people. We are very fast to move on when we hear something negative about someone. Even somebody's got like a clean slate, got a good reputation. Suddenly we hear something negative. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Where the mind gravitates to the stool, to the crap, and it doesn't seem to go to where the flowers are, isn't it? It'll take its time, but where it smells and where there's garbage, immediately we'll go there first. People of greatness don't have time to gossip. You don't have time. You're busy. You understand the ultimate therapy, which is to just keep busy in your household responsibilities, your devotional responsibilities, your service to Krishna, your service to Guru, and to the devotees. You're busy with that. And who has time? Everyone's working hard to make ends meet and trying to pay the bills, and who has time? But it seems like some people do have time. Gossip. It is the most deadly weapon of them all. And it's a weapon that you can sharpen and you polish by regular gossip. But it is like a boomerang. And a boomerang is something that they have the Aboriginal people in Australia, it's shaped like this, and you throw out, and it just comes back to you. And if you're not careful, it might hit you. So if you start gossip, you know, you will be the object. You will be the target, you know, because you started it. You know. And someone also expressed that gossip is the devil's radio, ongoing, you know, broadcasting. And one terrible thing about gossip is that it's usually information that is not, it's a truth, the truth is not confirmed. You know, if people are just simply talking and there's no, let's say, there's no confirmation on what was said. It's not been well researched. You know? And recently I wrote a poem on gossip, and I don't have it here with me today, but I call it Loose Tongue Monster. Loose Tongue Monster. And it's the occupation of a jerk. And I'd say also gossip is something that I guess it's the biggest human offender. You know, you get offended by someone saying something not nice to you, or just, you know, stepping on your foot or something without looking, and you might slightly get offended, or especially in the traffic, you know. People get offended all the time. He cut me off, like, you effing blah, 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 you know. And people get offended very easy on the road in the mode of passion, right? There's not time to think, to take a deep breath. Now, before I say something to this idiot, let me write my script, you know. But people are ready to dart out, to bolt out real fast and say what's on their mind, which is really pretty negative. You know? But so people get offended by those kind of things. Let's take another modern day example of what happens. You're working for a company, devoted to the company for 20 years. Then you're called in by some representative of the boss, the management. Okay, sorry. Mr. Smith, we won't need your services as of tomorrow. Okay? So that is like a slap in the face. So those are the real things that happen in life now. And then you'll be escorted, you know. The company is covered by, like, legally, and you can't say anything, you can't do anything. You can't even use your favorite four-letter word. You just have to, they move you out, and that's like, what an offense, you know. My family depends on it, on the job, on the income, and so on like that. I've been faithful, and they're cutting back, you know. They're not making, 10 billion, that year, so you have to cut down. So that's an offense, but I think the biggest offense is where people just start talking, you know. And they talk about each other, and they talk ill of each other. Let's look at some examples from the Leela, Krishna Leela. You all know the story of the Syamataka Jewel. There was this king. His name was Satyajit. And he had this, like, you call it a device. He had this jewel, and he worshipped the jewel, and it would produce gold. Every day he would get a certain amount of gold. And he was somehow or other became a recipient of this jewel. I think everybody can appreciate jewels like, or diamonds that shine, and the sun hits them at certain points, and it just like glows, and it's just so beautiful. You can see it from a distance, miles away. So this King Satyajit, who was not so plugged in or not so much connected with devotion, he got a little bit proud because he was making all this gold, all this money. And indeed, when he walked around with the jewel, the Syamataka Jewel, we're talking about the city of Dwarka, Krishna's city, where and even you think everything's perfect in Dwarka, but here's something, kind of seeped in that was kind of on the negative side. So this king Satyajit would walk around, and he would look like the sun god. He was shining, So some people, some simple people in Dwarka, they were saying, "Oh, here is Surya. Here is the sun himself. He's come to visit us after all." Dwarka is a place where it's kind of like Hollywood. All the big shots go there, you know. So in India, Dwarka was the place where everyone comes, you know. So he was really fast to accept the praise of others. Thank you. Yes. No problem, you know, with his nose in the air. Somebody with nose trouble, right? And it was suggested by Krishna, why don't you take this jewel and offer it to the king Ugrasen, because the best of everything should be offered to the king. And he knows how to disperse the wealth and give it to the common people so that there's fairness in the wealth and the sharing of the wealth. Well, Satyajit didn't like the suggestion. This is Krishna, the Supreme Personality, saying, let's do this. You know, it's a good program. It's a Vedic concept. And especially if the king, not Satyajit himself, but the king of the area, the district, is a pious man and has been trained by all the Brahmins and Pundits, then we should have some trust, right? So Satyajit didn't like that idea too much. He didn't concede to the suggestion. And so anyways, life goes on, and one day Satyajit's brother, he had a brother, his name was Prasen. He decided, I'm going to take this jewel. I'm going to show off with it myself. So he had it sort of dangled around his neck like this. And he just went down into the countryside on a horse. Just, you know, showing off. Anybody would say, oh, wow, look at the guy in the horse with the big, you know, jewel, and shining, is radiant, and so on like that. So what happened when he was on some kind of a hunting expedition, a lion came. And, you know, you've seen enough clips about lions chasing creatures like with their horse or something like that. There's even something out there where, you know, there's somebody on a horseback, and this is in Bengal, and a tiger comes out from the grass and attacks the guy, not the horse, but the guy on, you know, they can do that, they can jump. So anyways, the lion came and killed Prasen. And the lion dragged the jewel. He was also bedazzled by it, and then the lion came, and then another entity came, another creature, Jambavan, and he killed the lion. So just one creature is killing another. So anyways, news traveled that the King Satyajit's brother's dead. So now everyone is talking, yapping like this, like wildfire. You know, you all know what it'd be like if you set a match like this. You didn't have any water here this year, like if there was no rain. You just put a match, light a match, and it'll start to go like crazy. And I'll get the fence, and before you know it, it's just going to go into the house, and it's just going to go all over the place. And it just spreads like wildfire. So that's what did happen. And they found Prasena's body, whatever was left of it, and the blame went to Krishna. So they're gossiping. Krishna stole the jewel. And he stole. There was a rumor. Rumor is the word, right, in English. Rumor that Krishna stole the jewel, and we have to do something about it because the king didn't concede to the request by Krishna. So anyways, gossip goes on, and Krishna decided, okay, I have to clear the air. I have to clear my good name. So he decided to go out with a posse, I guess you could say. Posse, like a group of people. So for witnesses, I'm going to go out there. I'm not going to go alone in case people make another chapter on the book of rumors, right? So he went out and things got clear. Okay, here's the dead body, Prasen. Here's a dead lion, okay? And he found that he was just following the trail, And then finally he got to where the jewel was hidden. It was given to a little boy, Jambavant's son, who was playing with it like a toy. So this is how rumors go on, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Krishna himself is not spared of rumor. I mean, we hear it all the time from people. Well, people are suffering in Afghanistan. People were killed. They're playing soccer with dead body, the heads, rolling heads of people. So that's kind of like where human nature is at. It's so cruel. So there always seems to be this tendency to put people down, and the ego loves it, because if I put somebody down, then I look like I'm coming up, and I've got the information, so I'm now suddenly very important, because I'm the informer, and I know so much. I'm not God, but I'm getting close. And that's the nature of ego. Ego means E-G-O, edging God out. Edging, putting God out. So, and in this way, I can be more like I'm God. And so whatever I have to say as an informant can be taken seriously, because it's true. My details. So Krishna becomes the brunt of rumor, and that seems to be the case. Like Ramachandra was criticized, and Ravana is saying all kinds of things. Oh, look at this guy. He's supposed to be a king. Look at, and he's banned. They kicked him out. And they can't even look after himself. Look at the kind of clothes he's wearing. Look at what Sita's wearing. And all this. I mean, he had to try to convince Sita that he had to put down Ram in order to say, well, really, I'm your lover. That was his motive, right? Now, Prabhupada also was criticized for different things. We know about Prabhupada's glory. He came to the West. He came to a foreign land, a place where there was snow, and he'd never seen snow before. And he'd never seen such tall buildings. And, he first ended up in the Boston Harbor, and then the Jaladuta went a little further into the New York Harbor, and there's that lady like this, and that was the first time he saw Lakshmi Devi like this, and everything was very new to him. And he'd go to the grocery store, and all the potatoes are clean. There's no dirt on them. He says, "Ooh." Everything was really just like the efficiency level was something that he was not accustomed to. Everything bedazzled him, And then when he stayed in Butler, Pennsylvania, with the Agarwal family, and she was doing the vacuum cleaning. He said, "That is picking the dirt up." Ooh, everything. It was just something he'd never seen before. So everything was very new to him. Now, he also did new things. He brought Westerners in. First of all, he stayed, after he left Butler to go to New York, he stayed with this, what's his name, doctor? Was it Krishna, Radhakrishna? I forget his name right now. He was a yoga teacher. And most of the students were ladies who were in black tights, learning how to do yoga stretches and so on like that. I'm not saying anything against yoga. Yeah, we got yoga teacher here, right here. But Prabhupada was hearing the philosophy of the yoga instructor, and he just couldn't, it didn't gel with him. It didn't gel with him. Okay, so Prabhupada didn't have so much success at that yoga studio. Then a very nice devotee by the name of Michael Grant, who is from a Jewish American background. And as far as I know, he has some Russian blood. Like many of the early devotees have Russian blood in the American devotees. Or Ukrainian, And he reached out to Prabhupada and helped him to find a good place, and helped him to establish the place in New York, the 26 Second Avenue. And so from there, Prabhupada made students, and they were American boys and girls, you know. Indian Swami having white people for students, unheard of, you know. And then he went to the West Coast, and he got more, let's say, accrued more students, you know. And then he went to the Europe, to the UK, and met the Beatles through Syamasundar, and you know, all along. Michael Grant, now known as Mukunda Goswami, helped Prabhupada establish centers all over the place. So now, Prabhupada's strategy was, after having been in America for a while, going to Europe and into Canada too, he was in Montreal in '68 for a few weeks to deal with visa issues. Now Prabhupada had a strategy. He was thinking, my homeland, India, needs some attention. People are losing a grip on their dharma, on their values, good values, right? We all know what good values are, you know, to do with family, to do with God, and so on like that. So Prabhupada thought, I'll go back, but I'll go back to India with some of my American students. And they will wear a suit and a tie and you know, white shirt and everything like that. And so they'll look important, right? And then the Indian people will notice, oh, Americans are doing this? Maybe we should reconsider. Maybe our religion is okay. Because one thing that we have to remember is that for the Hindus especially, hundreds of years, for almost 1,000 years, they were put down by invaders from outside, mostly from the Islamic community. And then the British came in and they also put the Hindus down. So it's, imagine, hundreds of years of oppression on some level. So Hindu pride was not what it is today. So now people are seeing, oh, Westerners are taking to chanting, they're taking to puja, they're vegetarian prasadam, and they're going, oh, very nice, very good. So, but then a certain sector of people from India were starting rumors, or they're just talking, yapping. Some of the people that were very close to Prabhupada culturally, some of the members of his own institution, you know, from the Gaudiya Math. And they're saying, how can he convert these Westerners, these white people? It is not possible. And he's making them Brahmins, and he's making some of them sannyasis. Oh, it's not going to work. It's just, this is outrageous. You know, so they start talking, you know, like hyenas. Chickens, yeah, yeah. And so Prabhupada was also at the other end, being criticized. Of course, to some degree, it's true, Prabhupada regretted a little bit about how he was forward with some people. And, you know, not everybody stuck to their principles so much. There was a lot of people who walked away, stepped away, and they couldn't keep up, maintain the standards of Krishna consciousness. Most people who have left stick to their vegetarian vows. Many of them go back to smoking dope. And sex, Hare Krishna. I won't talk too much about that. But, you know, Prabhupada's mood was everyone should be invited. The problem with the Brahmins in India traditionally is it's only if you're born a Brahmin, you know, and it's a little bit like the Jewish community is a little bit like that too. They'll say if you're born a Jew, you're always a Jew. But if you're not born a Jew, you can't be a Jew. I have one of my disciples in Miami, his daughter, well, first of all, they were raised Catholic. He's a Cuban. And he became Krishna conscious. So his daughter ended up marrying a Jewish person. And she's totally Jewish now. She converted. She never got serious about Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, he has another daughter who's totally into Krishna. So, people have to make their own decisions and choices. But the point about the Smarta Brahmins of India, they're very exclusivistic, meaning it's just a small group. They're not inclusive. Now we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very inclusive. He got Buddhists to be involved. Of course, he didn't meet any Christians that we know of, that's on record. But, Muslims came forward, and people of like a tribal background. A lot of people that were attracted to Chaitanya were very intelligent people. But the point is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very inclusive. Everyone is welcome. Like, Chaitanya was like an umbrella, like this thing here. A shelter from the rain or the sun if it was a sunny day. But some people are figuring that, no, it's got to be just a few people. And that's why Prabhupada was criticized, because he brought in anybody. He brought Africans in, and Chinese. There was one devotee who was Chinese, and he came to Prabhupada for initiation. Are you Chinese? He said, yes. Oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very merciful. And it was a tradition in the Gaudiya Math to just young men would join. There were no girls that would join in the ashram. So that was another criticism. Ladies? Hare Krishna. So I guess I'll just move forward just a little. We can be more inclusive. You're in the middle. So that was another criticism lodged towards Prabhupada. The fact that ladies were coming and living in the ashram. And Prabhupada gave them brahminical initiation. They could go on the altar. And to this day in India, because the cultural values are strong, women are not allowed to go on the altar. But we do have it here because it's a culture that's a little more inclusive. Canadian culture is a little more inclusive. So Prabhupada was under fire, or Prabhupada was under criticism, but he didn't let that stop him from believing and practicing his own values, that everyone is a devotee of Krishna. Jivara Swarapahoy Nityara Krishna Das. That means that everyone is a devotee of Krishna deep down inside, even a snake, even a turtle, even a mosquito. There's love, Krishna Prema, precious Krishna Prema in the heart of a mosquito, deep down inside. It'll take a little time. I don't know if anybody's ever been able to tame a mosquito and make him a pet and get him not to drink blood. But, somewhere deep down, all jivas have love of God inside. And that's the mood that everyone can be part of, especially when it comes to the human category. It's possible. So the criticism goes on. And, we should be careful not to get involved in that game. It's actually a nasty game, I can say. Gossip, rumor monger. I don't know what kind of hell such people go to, I can't imagine. You've all heard of Kumbhipaka and these kind of planets where you'll be tortured, But it goes on, and one has to be careful if you're really serious about your spiritual life, not to go there, not to criticize, not to make it your modus operandi or make it your occupation. It's not for us. And some people do it full time. Some people are on part-time, criticism, part-time gossiping, and some people are full-time. Is the pay good? I don't think so. And when you actually look at your destination, if there is a hell for such people, then who really wants to go there? No, the best thing is that if you have real vision, you will talk good about other people. You will highlight what is good. Like you will look at the moon And the moon has all kinds of dark spots on it. And usually we get the impression of moon, it's just like a clear, like a perfect glow ball of glow, of shine, of illumination. But actually, you look hard at it, and I don't know if has anybody ever looked at it very deeply. Somebody said there's a rabbit in there. I don't know. My eyesight isn't that good, but you know, you don't look at the dark spots. You actually look at what's the fact that it's giving a lot of light, and it's giving so much light and so much influence that the wolves and the coyotes are noticing it, and they'll. It's got so much power to it that if you talk to the police, say, "What's it like on the full moon?" It's like, "Oh my God!" You know. So there's this place, Honest Ed's. I don't know if you know it. It was on Bloor Street, and Honest Ed's, that was a place of business started by a Russian Jewish man who came with nothing. He had nothing, penniless. And he started this incredible business, you know, by taking what do they call end of the line merchandise. You know what I mean by end of the line, or like merchandise that has a little perfection in it. Okay, like a teacup, you know, and it's got a little imperfection, it's got a little bump on it, you know. So Ed would take all that stuff, he'd put it in his store, and people who were looking for a bargain will go there. And that went on for years. Honest Ed said it was a good place to do Sankirtan at in front. And now they've gutted it. Well, they've taken it down totally, and now there's a big high-rise up there. Honest Ed's. It's a Toronto icon. It's a Toronto icon of the past, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. I think just 2 years ago they knocked down the building. So you can look at the cup and say, "Oh look, oh there's a bump on there, you know, a little imperfection." Or you can buy a bed sheet; it's got a little black spot on it. Or you can look at the black spot. Is it going to make an effect? It's like a piece of linen, and it serves a purpose. You cover the mattress with it, or you put over your body, you know, and it does the job. You know, who cares if there's a little black spot on it? So somebody who's picky, you know, meticulous. Oh, look at, there's a black spot. Oh, so, oh, you know, fussy, you know. And I think that everybody has a good shining spot in their heart. And as Vaishnavas, devotees of Krishna, we are supposed to actually identify the goodness in someone and then bloat it up, make it something maybe even bigger than what it is. And Prabhupada's beauty is that he would meet someone, he would ask, "What do you do? Where are you from?" And he'd talk like an ordinary person, you know. He wouldn't just say, "You must follow the regulative principles. No meat eating, no gambling, otherwise you're a demon." Maybe you've met those kind of people. I have. But actually it was Prabhupada who was just simply asking, "Oh, you know, like this is what you do?" You know, this happened. There's at least two people I know. He's a godbrother from Canada, and he asked, "So what do you do?" I said, "Well, Prabhupada, I sell drugs." And Prabhupada, in his innocence, is saying, "Oh yes, I was a pharmaceutist. I was selling drugs." But Prabhupada would find out what's the background of a person and then highlight and kind of make them feel good, you know. He recognized me. He talked to me. He asked me personal questions. "Are you married?" You know, those kind of things. And the best would come out of that person. You know? So that's the way to go about it. Now, most of you know Dharma Pranaparu. Dharma Prana, who lives in the temple with the, you know. So I first met him. We opened up the temple in '76, January. And devotees from Winnipeg drove 24 hours, because that's what it takes, 24-hour drive, nonstop, to come to Toronto for our opening of our temple. And I was doing a lot of cooking in those days. And I cooked broccoli in a kind of like a white sauce. And Dharma, you made this? You know, and I said, well, yes, I did. Krishna let me make it. I said, oh, this is wonderful, wonderful. Can I get seconds? You know? And then he went for thirds. And you know, I could see here's a man, Mr. Positive, right? And that's what Prabhupada was. He was very positive. He would not look at the negative thing of someone. Now, if you read the story about how the Bombay property was secured, Prabhupada had to deal with a very shrewd businessman, and Nair was his name, Nair, and he was shrewd, he was mean, he was nasty. And how he could do that to a sadhu, like a sannyasi, it's kind of like unforgiving. It's hard to even comprehend. But Prabhupada had to deal with some difficult people, you know. And yet he was tolerant. He was tolerant. And don't be surprised if, you know, some people talk about you, and you probably went through it already. Maybe you went to school and what they call it bullying. I don't like that word because bulls are nice. They mean, bulls mean everything to us, like bulls and cows, and you know. But maybe some of you went to school and people bullied you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one guy who was bugging me so much. It was like psychological. He'd stare at me, look at me like this, and then say nasty things right in the classroom before the class started, and it just went on, and I dreaded seeing that guy. You know, it wasn't physical, but I think everyone gets a little bit of the taste of it, and you know, I mean, how do we accept that? Here's how Prabhupada dealt with it. And it's a story told by Gopal Krishna Maharaj, right? We read it the other day. It was in Montreal. Okay. Now there was this one man, he was an Indian gentleman, right? And he was giving Prabhupada a hard time. Yeah, first of all, he would be nice, but in a public venue, he would give him a hard time by asking super challenging questions. And then the devotees that got under their skin and said, I just want to break the guy's head or something like that. But Prabhupada said, it's okay. And probably in a former life, I was giving him a hard time. So if someone is giving you a tough time, but either through their mouth, through their words, or physically, it probably could mean that you were giving someone else a tough time. That same soul. And now there's a retaliation. That's the word that was used, retaliation. If you look at it from that perspective, then it doesn't hurt so much, right? Because after all, we're not pure. We're not. Maybe we're like the linen with a little black spot. Yeah, we have. You know, maybe we have a big black spot. But expect that these kind of things will happen, and when they come to us, it just means that we're going to go through some moments of humility, that's all. And humility is a good thing. It's a good thing in spiritual life. You know? Like if everybody's always nice to you, what are you going to, you'll be very complacent, and you'll think you're the King Tut or Queen Sheba, you know. That's the problem. But when you have people in your life that make it a little hard for you sometimes, they're putting you in your place, you know. Yeah, you know, I've done some wrong things, and I kind of deserve it. I kind of deserve it. So for devotees, we should like move in life with some dignity. Yeah, okay, I'll take a few hits, you know. I'll take a few blows. Someone comes with a punch, I should go like this. Sometimes when we do drama practices, we have like a fight scene, right? And so if I go like this and strike Prabhu over here, you know, he will naturally, his head will roll this way, you know. But if you're not very practiced in theatrics, you know, you'll hit here and then you'll go the other. You have to roll with the punches. That's what we say in English. Roll with the punches, and Maya will do that to us. Maya will send people who will make it a little difficult for us. So most of you are in relationships, you're family people, and you have a partner, and that partner is there to be a little bit like that bully once in a while, and say, okay, I get it, I'm not perfect, okay, I'm not a saint, and but you'll have your turn too. And so that's the way the world kind of runs and the way it operates, is that we sometimes get under the radar of like people who are nasty. Of course, if we have an opportunity, we try to clear our, make our record clean, try to clean our reputation if we can. But there's always going to be someone there that's going to be like your needle, on the side. There's always going to be some, and once that needle's out, there's going to be another. Like there's porcupines, porcupines. You have all these needles coming out, I think we all walk through the bush and we meet a porcupine who starts to, get a little aggressive, and that's just the way life is. They're all reminders that, okay, I'm not a saint. I have some darkness, and I still have some little demons, and I must address them. Okay, so, but if you want bad karma, really bad karma, super bad karma, then gossip. This is a very good program. They'll send you to hell real fast. Like you'll go like a bullet, And it's amazing how, some people kind of get away with it for a long time. But gossipers, they'll lose all their friends. They'll end up being lonely, almost at the point where you feel sorry for them. But the people who speak evil, they basically should, go on an island, put them on a boat, and put them all together on an island, and they can. That's kind of like the way I feel sometimes. Yeah. I asked one motivational speaker, and he's a devotee. He's very suffering from Parkinson's terribly right now. But when he was in good form, I asked him, "What do you do with negative people? Like people are always negative. They always have something negative to say." And this was his answer. He said, "Well, if they're in the circle, try to get them out of the circle. Try to get them out." And that takes tact. It takes, it's an art. It's really a fine art. One of the most difficult things to do. It's like if you do have, your dog went into the bush, he attacked the porcupine, and now the dog's come back. He's got in his mouth all these porcupine pins in him. So what do? It's an art to pull to get all those things out of his snout. So it's kind of like life is interesting. It's very interesting. So at all costs, we should just try to not be involved in this backstabbing game. Like. Say like Karuna Sindhu, whom I love very much, if I turn around and if I want to do something evil, I'll put the knife in his back when he's not looking. But if I'm a real warrior, I'm a real man, I'll say, "Here's a knife, here's your knife, let's go at each other," But so that the problem arises when you do things behind people's back and you don't inform them. And then I'll finish with a little story. The last time I walked across Canada, and you were with me, I think. We were in this small town in Alberta, and it was just before the Rockies. My support guy will contact someone and in the town, like a yoga studio or any club. So this Lions Club, let's call it the Lions Club, they asked us to speak about our walking experiences. So I first of all open up and I start to talk about why I walked, why I started walking, long distance, 96. I told them because my guru, it's his birthday. I said, the temple food is too oily and spicy. I gave them all the good reasons, right? And of course, it's not like that now. The food is wonderful, isn't it? Perfect, yeah. And, and then I said there was a lot of gossip going on, rumor mongering, a lot of it lodged against me. And I said, I'm not going to stay around here. I'm just going to go for a long japa walk, And so I told the people, I decided I'd just go for a long walk. And I'd see nature, and I'd get a little more relaxed with the media people and so on. All the reasons I gave. So when I talked about the gossip, one man at the end, "Hey Swami, I want to tell you a story about gossip." I said, "Okay." So there was this lady, Mildred, and she was the town gossip. She talked about everything. And so he was talking about Bob, okay? Now, who is Bob? Bob is a good man, good family man, takes care of his wife and children. And one day his vehicle was parked outside the tavern, near the tavern. So Mildred starts coming up with a story. "Oh, Bob, you know that Bob that everyone loves so much, Well, he's on a binge. He's drunk all the time. There's trouble with him and his family, and he's probably going to lose his job." Just made up all these stories, right? So Bob is the last one to find out about the rumor. He's the last one. He said, one of his friends, "Everyone's talking about you in town, eh, Bob?" And I said, No, what are they saying?" They said, "Well, they're saying you're an alcoholic." And I said, "Well, how is this?" So he went around to find out, and it was Mildred was the cause. So he went to Mildred's house, knocked on the door. "Mildred, so what's this thing, this story, about me?" And he said, "Why did you make up this story?" He said, "Well, you were parked outside the pub, the tavern. And so I put two and two together. You're a drunk." Okay? So I said, "Okay, all right." So then what he did was he left his van and left it out in front of her house, okay, for overnight, okay? And then I guess he walked to his own house. And in this way, Mildred, we hope, learned her lesson. Because then somebody else could make a story. "Oh, look at Bob and Mildred, they're together." So it was fun to hear that kind of story. Anyway, so I think if we're going to be really serious about our spiritual life, we have to really watch our tongue, and if you eat lots of prasadam, you're going to be forgiven. But if you talk ill about other people, innocently and behind their back, it's really bad news for you spiritually. And even by, just common sense standards, like of etiquette and good protocol, not just take away Krishna consciousness. It's bad. It's a bad habit, very bad, and it's just something that we should try to eliminate. I have a sister, and her husband says, "You're just a gossip." I said, "I am not." So I was going to send her my poem, and maybe it would say, I don't know how she'd take it, but anyways, it's we have to be careful about that. We're encouraged to do Krishna Katha, to speak positively, not negatively. There's a lot of negative things to talk about. Our indigenous kids were buried in the ground by kids burying their friends. We can talk about what's going on in Afghanistan. We can talk about so many negative things. And mind you, we shouldn't turn a blind eye. It's true. But we should also spend a good amount of time on positive things. Like devotees are called vax and anti-vax. It's like we're split down the middle of this incredible polarization. Is it like that? And then, everywhere. Like they're almost like it's almost like a Pandavas and Kauravas. Who has the time to talk ill about, this and that, and try to get caught up in conspiracy theorisms? There were conspiracy theorisms during Prabhupada's time. Prabhupada came in 1965. And John F. Kennedy, he was shot in 1963, I think it was. 1963, John F. Kennedy. And it's still to this day, nobody really knows, or it's not public information, who really shot John F. Kennedy. And 20 years ago, yesterday, was the Twin Towers came down. Who really knows, Should we get eaten up by this news? There'll always be this story, and it will be replaced by another one. There will be new reincarnations of stories about conspiracy theorism. And Prabhupada, to some degree, was a conspiracy theorist. They didn't go to the moon. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. There's Rakshasas who are controlling the planet. And of course, we all can believe that, but he didn't get consumed by it. He got consumed by seva, by service, by sharing Krishna consciousness with others, and by taking care of each other, in the community. So they'll stay. So they'll be able to preserve themselves in a nice environment. So that was his practice, The tongue can take you to hell or can take you to heaven. So it's your choice what you do with it. You flap it around. Just make sure you flap it in the right direction. Right? So with it, you take prasadam, you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you talk nice about others, You have to talk nice about people in general, like people next door. Maybe they eat steak for dinner, they have the barbecue, and we can say, oh, they're demons. And they probably drink too. They're probably horsing around with somebody else's wife. So you can make all kinds of stories, It can be very colorful. It can be extremely colorful. You can make a movie, a big production, out of, there's this, on the first walk that I did, it was near Napanee on Highway to Kingston. And I met a man, and he was talking, they have a saying in Ireland, a war is started by the flapping of a butterfly's wings. He creates waves, he starts moving, the air starts moving, and finally a war is created, like a world war, just from this. So from your tongue, if you say something that's wrong, that has no basis behind it, you can create a war. It doesn't take much. Yes. So thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. So for Radhastami, and we're celebrating it tomorrow, and I believe people are allowed to come for Mangalarti.
By registration?
By registration, yeah. If you want to come for Mangalarti at 4:30. And there's a program in the evening as well. You know more than I do. I mean, you're part of you're connected to the management more than I am. I always have to call Anjaneya Tirtha or
The phone is
something.
over there.
Yeah,
The
where's
phone
my
is over
phone?
there, yeah.
So maybe you should announce something.
No, yeah, as far as the celebration, I was just wondering in terms of the holiday itself.
Okay.
But yeah, so tomorrow there is Mangalarti, I believe. I didn't read it carefully. There was an email. You can register. We can throw the link into the chat so that you can register if you want to come. I'm not sure if the spots are still there. I believe in the evening it's just an online program. I don't think it's a live. Yeah,
I think you can register for darshan.
Yeah, darshan is a
online
separate
meeting
registration.
already.
Yeah, you can go for darshan during the day. There's a separate registration for that, I believe. Yeah, and fasting is until noon.
Yes. We all owe everything to Radharani, and it's so nice to be able to say to people, oh, we believe God is He and He's also a she. Here's a poem that I wrote the other day about Radha. And okay, listen, give me a second, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Christopher, how are you? I call this poem, and it's a short one, it's The Goddess, okay? And here it goes. And this is about Radharani, okay? The embodiment of beauty, the spirit of purity. Her complexion resembles gold, while her senses are controlled. She's calm, composed, collected. To all souls, she remains connected. She is the epicenter of radiance, as a flower's essence is fragrance. She is the master in the cuisine, the kitchen, right? After her craft, she keeps it all clean. She is a teacher of surrender, holding no place for a pretender. And those who are morose to her can come close. She is the epitome of the feminine, spontaneous in love, beyond regimen. She is loyal to the Prime One. Through him, devotion had begun. She is indeed the goddess, the queen, the only way to get to the king. And her name is Radha. Hare Krishna. Popcorn, popcorn. Okay, so we have some questions, and we'll keep doing good. Yes, Prabhu.
At the beginning of your class, you mentioned about people's negativity, about people more believing in negative things.
Yeah.
My question is, why is it that they're so inclined to negativity? Is it because of their nature, because of the gunas of material nature influence, or why does it take place
Well, I think
so often?
it's a kind of psychological thing that, say, like when it comes to news, the news, like, it's often quite negative and violent, and that's what people seem to gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do they like that instead of a happy, cheery story? You know, so and so were enemies for a while. They came together and they had a party together. They had a few drinks, and now, you know, whatever. You know, it's just people don't want to hear good stories.
That's right.
I know that for myself. You know, Toronto is my home. I walked through this place like 4 times, and nobody wants to do a story on it. It's a happy story, right? Yeah. So when people hear negativity about others and some gruesome details about some death, some would be shooting their family and then themselves, they love, it's immediately we get. Then I guess to some degree it pacifies you. Well, I guess my life is not so bad after all. I guess it's now it's a little bit of a brings about a kind of a calm, you know. It's stormy out there, but it's calm in my, relatively speaking, in my backyard. You know, so I think that's a part of it. And I think it's just the nature of the beast, and the beast is the mind. Just wants to go to where it's all bad, where it's evil. We love evil. We like horror stories. We like horror movies. Oh, great! In 1974, we were going in the lineups for Exorcist. I don't know if you ever saw that. The Exorcist. It's a classic horror film. So people, it's on Bloor Street. They still have, it's like an Art Deco kind of place. I can point. Yeah. So people were lining up around the corner, and like the whole block, week after week after week. And it's all about this girl she's possessed, you know, and her head turns around and green comes out of her mouth, and people just love this stuff. And the girl, the actress, she became quite famous for that. I don't think she got any parts after that major, but I forget, Blair or something was her name, and it's just like people just gravitate to that negative stuff because it makes your life, it puts your mind off of some pejorative things, negative things that's happening in your life. That, oh, it's just not so bad for me now. It just, you know, I think that's psychologically what the kind of effect it has on people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess people are feeling being proud
Perhaps.
with their own life.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. Good, yes.
I'm too small to talk in front of you, of course. I don't have so much information. But I give an example from everyday life. If you start from, you know, if you're married with kids or wife, whatever, the way that you said the people are more attractive to negative things.
Yes.
Imagine you wake up, your wife, your husband. How did you sleep? Good. You never ask, how does it come that you're good? Because I sleep bad. Nobody asking, what did you do? How did you sleep? What did you eat? Did you do a meditation or something? They just say, oh, okay. As soon as you begin or you start saying, oh no, it's bad, and the people are asking you why. For example, I'm driving Uber. The people comes anytime, even I have headache, whatever. If they ask, how is it going? Great, good. And the same. And when I see that the people are talkative, I'm telling them, we have to say always good, because as soon as you say no, or I'm bad, or I have a bad day, then say, why? Because they're interested to see.
It's happening.
Yeah, that happens always.
Yes, yes, I know. We should always, as devotees, people of good heart and good soul, try to stimulate a good conversation with people. Yeah, that's really important. Set everything on a good note. That's really important. I remember on our way up north, north of Aurelia, we stopped in at a convenience store, and it was it happened to be some kind of a Indian gentleman. He was Pakistani or something, like running the store, and he was happy to see us. Three devotees in there, and then one local guy comes in, and the clerk in the store said, "How are you today?" And the guy says, he said, "Good morning. What's so good about it?" And I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand that tone. And I was just on the other end of the store, and I said, everything's good. And he just kind of shocked. Who is he? But I just wanted to get the message out there that everything's good. If you talk to a Jamaican bro who said, "Everything's good, man." And it is, if you just take a little time to analyze it carefully. There is so much negativity. We're in Kali Yuga, so we have to pull out the good that's in this dark time. We have to. And if it's like my parents went through the Second World War, they had to learn the art of just seeing what was good in what was very dark. You can imagine, Nazis that would come in every night, and the boys had to hide, because otherwise take them in and put them in prison or shoot them. Yeah. And that, they weren't even Jewish boys, it didn't matter, Christian, Jew, anybody. And the guys the Nazis would come in and just help themselves with pots and pans, and you're just supposed to sit there and be good. So during that dark time when people hardly had anything to eat, they learned the art of how to make it bright. Let's take another example. Some of our indigenous people that lived way up north in snow houses, igloos. There's a period of the winter where you don't see the sun. What do you do? What do you, 24 hours, no brightness. So what did they do? This is what they did. They would, they have their oil from like a whale or a fish, blubber, and they would just kind of turn on some light, and so that you could see each other a little bit. And they would just spend hours and hours telling stories about legends, about big monsters coming in and heroes. That's how they occupied their time. So for us, it means to translate that or convert it into Krishna consciousness. Take the Leelas, the stories of Krishna, and just absorb yourself in these pastimes. That's what you do. You can look up chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, text 16, 1716, 1716, I'll say it again, 1716. And you can look in the purport what Prabhupada says about, how to kind of exercise the discipline of the mind and speech and so on like that. And he says we have so many stories from the Puranas. We have the epics, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. So much to absorb yourself in, instead of your puny little, little soap operas. I don't know what you call it in Russian. Soap operas.
That's translated exactly. Word
It's
by
called
word.
soap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just Absorb yourself in the Leelas. Think about them. Any other questions? Or thanks, Prabhu, very much. Yes, Prabhu.
How do we, like, we keep hearing inspiring lectures and we're inspired for some period of time and then just goes to no. So how do we permanently integrate knowledge into our lives pertaining to Krishna consciousness, or even in case of gossip, it's just being a better person, not even related to, directly related to Krishna consciousness. So how do we cement it?
How do we cement it? Okay. Well, I don't think there's a day that should go by that we shouldn't hear something from Shastra. Every day we should be, opening up the books and sitting down and hearing someone who knows more than us. I think that's how you're going to make it solid, concrete. So that's there. And get on the phone, talk to somebody who makes you feel happy. Like I know someone that I can call who's in Florida, and we always laugh. He just makes you laugh. I have a godbrother in another part of the U.S. He just cackles. Just his laugh makes you laugh. It doesn't even have to be funny when he's laughing. He just laughs, and so I think you have to identify the sangha. You have to identify the people that make you feel good. Yeah, that's really important. And for the people that make you feel bad, what do? You walk on the other side of the street when you see them coming.
Just keep distance.
Yeah, just like, good morning, with a plastic smile. But at least you're using a technique, and so just being positive. Yeah, and just keep up the kata, keep up the sangha, keep hearing, keep reminding each other. That's so important. And if you're going to spend a lot of time, watching movies or something like that, or watching soap operas, then it's not going to help you in your Krishna consciousness. It's just not. It's like tamagun. So you have to really stay in the framework of sattvagun, modagunness. Know, like the bee, go to the essence of the flower. Go to sattvagun. Stay away from the tamas and the rajas.
So it's being exposed to a certain mood for a prolonged period of time, then it becomes...
prolong it. Prolong the sattvagun as much as you can. Eat the right kind of food. Stay away from the spicy, oily stuff, and you'll be okay. Well, it's just the environment, you create the environment, like you make a sattvic environment. You put on, you're finicky about the pictures you put on the wall in your home. You do everything that will remind you of that which is going to help you to forge ahead. Right? Good. Somebody else?
Do we have some time?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah, good.
It's almost 12,
Yeah.
so we got some time.
So I guess my question is sort of related to the previous one and the answer that you gave. You mentioned, and we all know that the right sangha is very important, right? In every sense. However, we all human beings, right? And even, in every community, there are some problems, I would say, to a certain degree. So, as you mentioned, that's a very good tactic, just to keep yourself away of the circle. But in this case,
Yes.
I have a concern if this is the best way. In one sense, it's like, when you open up the heart, or when you listen, when someone opens the heart to you, sometimes this happens. A little bit of gossip. And in a sense that, let's say, I appreciate the friendship, so I don't remove myself. I'm not keeping the distance from that person. Maybe I was hoping you can give any kind of, tricks or suggestions how to deal with that kind of situations.
Okay.
I hope I was clear.
Yeah. The kind of situation where two people have some difficulty with each other, or
No, I mean,
difficult
within the
circumstances.
Sangha, let's say.
Within
you
the
don't
Sangha.
want to remove yourself from this, but at the same time,
Right, the gossip goes on, or
yes,
whatever.
it's just
Yeah,
something
that's right.
more practical.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, if you want to, if gossip goes on in the community and you want to try to help not to have the gossip there or just try to subdue it, try to get in there and change the subject. That's a great tactic. Go to Sattva Guna again, talk about something happy. That's a good strategy. And other people around say, oh yeah, he did a good thing. You know? Upon reflection or right on the spot, they'll notice, oh yeah, I see where he was taking us. Yeah, I think that's something very important. Just remind everybody, get them on track. If you're off track, go on track. That's all. Yeah, if the train goes off track and it goes on its side, for sure there's a state of emergency and all the king's horses and all the king's men will come and put it all together again. Yeah. Like if you go to India and you see sometimes these Tata trucks, there's these big trucks and they fall to the side. And so what do? They don't have a crane. They don't, all the men come together, 200 or whatever, and they come, and put it back up together again.
On the other side.
No, then I guess you have to have some people on the other side to hold and catch it. Just have to try to help the situation, I think that those are the fine arts of life. You just have to figure out how to get people in a good space and learn those strategies. The strategy is knowing how to get people back to some level of sanity. From insanity, try to bring it to sanity. Like what America went through just not so long ago. It was like, it was insane. The leader of the country is attacking the Capitol building. Some people try to help put it together again. So, there's lots of strategies, but I think you have to ultimately have a good heart, a will to change it and make it better, and then sometimes Krishna will just help you, from within. Some people call it intuition, but Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, as Krishna states in the Gita, chapter 10, he'll give you the smarts to know what to do to bring everything back to some level of gravity. Call on Krishna to help. I think that's really important. Call on him to help. But we are going to continue to have these kind of challenges, and just be ready for it and be better equipped. You don't want it to go on.
Quick question. You mentioned during the lecture that people may do so because they would like to distract themselves from their own pain. So is there anything that we can do to help them to deal with their pain in a proper way?
Can you tell me what was the first line?
So
you said election?
Yes. So basically during the election, right? During the
this
class.
election is going on
this,
right now.
No. During the class. Sorry for my. During the lecture.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. During this class, you mentioned that people may want to distract themselves from their own issues in life by gossiping, right? To feel like better.
That's true.
So it makes me think that there is some pain inside that which is unresolved.
Right.
And they're not maybe ready or don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And that's why they cover it with gossip.
Right.
So my question is there anything that we can do to
Yeah, but
help
I
them
think
to
that's
deal with
really
this pain?
important in any community. You have to have some sort of recognized, identifiable, Brahminical type people, like counselors, who you can go to and speak confidentially. They're not going to start to, open up and, you know, leak out whatever you said. So I think it's good to have Brahminical people. We call them Brahmins, and one of their responsibilities is to deal with people's matters. You know, like if there's a crisis in someone's family, you know, they can be referred to, and I think these are very important role models like that you need in the community. Everybody needs to have them, I think. You know? And if you don't do that, then you have to go to a psychiatrist and you spend a lot of money. You know, and they don't really care for you. They just, you know. So it's better within the community to have those kind of people, those very grounded kind of people who have that great gift to chat and bring clarity to this situation. To talk it, or if somebody is a gossiper, it's good if that gossiper can actually open up to a person who's strong and willing to listen and take some advice. And also that person has to feel that I'm feeling this way, I'm going through a lot of pain, and therefore I make up stories because of this happened to me when I was a child, blah, blah, blah. So just there has to be some of those kind of sessions. Otherwise you bottle it up all inside and you'll always suffer, you'll always be in pain. And then when you put in the box, you wouldn't have made a clearing on the subject. So I think people have to open up. And a big part of the problem, you've all heard this before, that when you do have some issues, just talk a little bit about it to someone, and then half of your problem is solved. Right? Isn't it? I mean, they say that about men and women sometimes, like women have a lot of thoughts, you know, and say, honey, there's this problem, that problem, this problem. Okay, I'll fix it. And a guy says, I'll take care of it. I'll get my toolbox and I'll fix it, right? And says, no, you don't fix it. You know, I just want to talk about it, you know, because you feel good. You know, all that's bottled up kind of opens up, like 50% of its problem is gone just by talking about it. So then the guy has to learn to sit down, listen. Okay, oh yeah, all right. That's all he has to do, sit down. And you know, the talk will go on a little longer than he wants, but you know, that's the part of the austerity, and that's how you grow as a person. You know? Just have to bite the bullet and accept, this is what it takes. I just have to be a good listener right now. And that's one of the biggest problems. People don't take enough time to talk to each other about meaningful things. Yeah, they don't talk about their emotions enough. So I think we have to have a little time every day for the emotions. And devotees are loving people, you know. A lot of problems get solved just with a hug or a kiss or something like that. Really, I'm just telling you, you know, hug and hold it there for a bit and just be human. Don't be like a Superman. You know? Try not to be superficial, but be a little bit real. Open up, say what's on your mind. Okay. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with your group, and it's so much better to be physically together instead of that Zoom gloom program.
Boom, boom. Feel the energy of the sun.
Yeah. So nice to look at the apples. There isn't a better vision than that. That's it. That's an Instagram shot. All right, then, what would you have us do now?
We can do a little bit of kirtan right now.
Okay.